So keep that in mind. Voice to skull. I know people here in town who are having this, so it's not that it's happening somewhere else, it's happening here as well. And the person has to learn to live with it. Okay, regarding the street lamps, I want to say a couple words about lighting. All right, I'm just going to go for some notes here. I haven't really prepared, but I'm in touch with Jamie Lee in California. And Jamie Lee is the videographer who does the, what does he call it? He makes videos, particularly of the Paradise, California fires. Jamie has about 100 videos about the Paradise fires. He lives very close to them. He's at ground zero. He's been there many times. And they're called Paradise Lost number whatever. The one I want to refer to now is Paradise Lost number 51. That's the one in which he interviews a scientist who must remain anonymous out of fear for his profession and life, I don't know which. But it's a really good video to listen to understand what this nanotechnology is capable of. Yeah, he talks about LEDs. He says that, I don't know if you saw the video of the Paradise fire, but the one of the blue cylinder of light coming down from the sky, he says that was actually, they actually used Li-Fi to activate that blue spectrum, and that it was actually LEDs. And it was triggering the nanotechnology. That's what he said. It was not a laser, he said. It was LEDs, and just to remind you, LEDs mean light-emitting diodes. I know some of you may even have them in your living room because they're low voltage and cheaper or something. I highly recommend you get rid of them because they're pulsing constantly. And you now know you're a resident being from the Resonance film. You are a resident being. You will resonate to those pulses, and your health will pay for it. Always think in terms of pulses with light. So just reading here. LEDs, light-emitting diodes, are the low-voltage semiconductors providing solid-state lighting, ubiquity, network connectivity, and access to power for the Internet of Things. Unlike analog high-voltage light fixtures, LEDs and digital go hand in hand, which is why they pretty much constitute the Internet-connected central nervous system of smart cities and smart buildings. So LEDs are the name of the game. LEDs have sensors in them that 24/7 sense their environment. They act on the information, and then they network it with others like them in the Internet of Things. In other words, if you see the LEDs, they see you. Okay? That's the LEDs. You want to get them out of your house, I think. Of course, you want to get your TV out of your house too. Can't believe anyone in here still owns a TV. I've never owned one, but you know, I know it's a two-way technology. You know that, right? It's seeing you, you're seeing it. LEDs are perfect for internet connectivity through Li-Fi technology. Now, Li-Fi is like wireless technology with light. Li-Fi uses light. Wi-Fi uses radio frequency to transmit data. Li-Fi can use higher bandwidth and work in areas of electromagnetic interference while offering higher transmission speeds. The thing about Li-Fi is that it can't really go through matter, at least that's what we're told. So when this guy said that they used Li-Fi in that blue spectrum cylinder of light coming down from the sky, probably from, my guess would be a helicopter, it triggered the nanotechnology for fire. Okay? And the way it worked, I don't know if you saw how many videos you watched of the Paradise fire, but you must have seen in the foreground was swarming along the ground. And at first, I thought it was the embers of the fire. But then I noticed, and this was before I heard this guy, I noticed how they seemed to almost have a will of their own, as if they were following a path of their own from one house, skipping the next house, going to the next house. So he said that that's exactly right, that they were swarming due to their nano nature. They are prone to that. They were following an algorithm of one of what I call the laptop boys. I'm just making sure I got it. 170 fires in Santa Rosa, radiology unit, creosote guardrails, water as an insulator, unit of evidence. Yeah, that's the primary thing that he said. I just want to explain the Li-Fi again. It uses light to transmit data instead of radio frequency using it to transmit data. And the LEDs are actually for surveillance. Then there's one more, and this has to do with Paradise as well. Deborah Tavares called me one day and said that she had just found out that they had put a LiDAR tower up outside Santa Rosa. Now, LiDAR is another form of light. You need to become conversant with these terms. LiDAR, light detection and ranging, it's like radar, but with light. LiDAR is an optical remote sensing technology using pulsed laser light, just as sonar uses pulsed sound and radar uses pulsed radio waves. By measuring the backscattered light to the targeted back, distance can be determined as well as atmospheric density. Atmospheric density, very important for weather manipulation, for targeting manipulation. It's, again, our atmosphere is loaded with nanoparticles. If we can just see in here right now, it's loaded. Everywhere is loaded. I don't know anywhere it isn't. It's actually called aerosol loading. LiDAR is used for aerosol loading. So they use the LiDAR to measure what the atmospheric load is, and then they know when to bring the jets or the drones or whatever over to thicken up particulates in a target area. And certainly that was going on in Paradise, no question about it. LiDAR is also used for mapping and measuring chemical compounds and nanosensors over a wide area, airborne laser swath mapping, laser altimetry, contour mapping, remote sensing, archaeology, etc. That's it for LiDAR. Okay,
and to catch you speeding. The cops use that now.
They use the LiDAR. Yeah. Yeah.
They also are using LiDAR on driverless cars out of Scottsdale.
Okay, all right. So these are relatively new technologies. We need to be at least conversant with their definition and their common use, anyway. But these were used according to, other than the LiDAR, the Li-Fi and the LEDs were used in the Paradise Fire to quicken and activate the swarm nanotechnology to move embers from one area to another and bypass other areas. So intelligent destruction, intelligent use of destruction. And then the LiDAR is somehow parked over Santa Rosa. Deborah was convinced that it meant the death of everyone, but I don't know what it was doing there. I don't know how they're going to use it. We need to learn more about this, and if you do learn more, share it with me.
They already had a bunch of fires there. They've been having fires there. It was really bad. The worst
Where?
one there. Santa Rosa.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, right. Yeah, lots of fires. Exactly. California is kind of like the experimental lab for certain things, right? Okay, then, so this is done by Tony Pantalaresco. I couldn't say his name for a long time, now I can even spell it. Tony is the go-to guy for me of figuring out how we can detox, how we can endure magnetism primarily, that's what Tony is pursuing. And here, I can just read through this quickly. Nanotechnology taken in through eating, breathing, and exposure. Nanotechnology gestates 24 to 72 hours, upon which it will morph and assimilate. Morphing, that's another aspect of nanotechnology. It does not remain what it appears to be. It can morph into an insect form. I think it's all due to being programmed. And possibly even remotely programmed on the spot. 3, the beginning of breaking down of bodily raw material for biology to use through cells or tissues using anything it can access. 4, congregation of particles in an area to further integrate or assimilate material, by which it will shape the material into a conical, circular, or cylindrical particle. Add to that a geometric particle. Add to that a hexagonal geometric particle. 5, nanotechnology saturates the material, lining itself up, creating fullerenes, dots which will accumulate in the building block it has already created. 6, the biofilm bacteria created will trigger an immune response, which will then be used in collecting and sealing the nanoparticles. 7, nanoconstructs will break down the biofilm polymer substance to further its network with other particles, which will further assemble and become a ligand or a fullerene. 8, the fullerene assembly is now fully constructed and looking to attach itself to other material. It will continue to expand, attaching itself to other synthetics. This is what is called synthetic biology. This is how it is being done. Okay. And you can find a lot on Tony's site. I have a list at the end of all sorts of sites I recommend. I'll put that up whether we get to the end or not. Somebody's going to have to stop me. Okay, so foodstuffs are now genetically engineered. I have a small microscope that I bought on the internet, on Amazon, I think. $6, $7, 60 power. Has UV light and it has LED light. And I use it, like if I go to the grocery store sometimes to amuse myself, sort of negatively. I'll go over to the fruits and vegetables, the organic section, and take a little peek. And often I find all the fibers, all the stuff. Okay. So anyway, I like having it. It's amazingly.
They should come buy my potatoes high prices for.
Exactly. I've been buying organic since I was 19. It doesn't bother me at least. Okay. Now on to this. Items of interest. This is about sensors. This is the purpose of sensors from General Petraeus. Items of interest will be located, identified, monitored, and remotely controlled through technologies such as radio frequency identification, sensor networks, tiny embedded servers, and energy harvesters. That's more gallons. Energy harvester. All connected to the next generation internet using abundant, low cost, and high power computing.
Low cost.
Yeah, this is really, yeah, it's about making money. But the 5G is really about this, because the 5G will help this immensely. This will multiply the process, will magnify it up down the process. Okay, so that's general
I'm glad he got fired.
Well, you know, who knows what happened there. It certainly wasn't over a woman. Okay, gems. Now, this is part of what's known as the sense. I love their clever names. Sense, capital C, small e, capital N, capital S, capital E. Sense, or the central nervous system of the Earth, is a project by Hewlett-Packard and others to place nanosensors everywhere. Sense consists of a highly intelligent network of billions to trillions of nanoscale sensors designed to feel, taste, smell, see, and hear what is going on in the world. This is what I mean by they are machines, but they are biomachines. They are genetically engineered to be both kingdoms, if you will. So a planet-wide sensing network using trillions of tiny, cheap, tough, and exquisitely sensitive detectors that all end up in our lungs and our brains, unfortunately. So that includes the MEMS. These are MEMS here. MEMS is micro electromechanical systems. GEMS, global environmental MEMS sensors, and NEMS, nano electromechanical systems. And now we're going to look at a whole bunch of others that have made their way into us. Quantum dots. These hexagonal forms are being pulled from Morgellons lesions. And they glitter. You might see glitter on you and go, wait a minute, I haven't been to a birthday party today. Well, it might be one of these sensors.
Is that visible by the naked eye?
Yes. You can see the glitter. You can see the glitter. And some of them are larger than 1 nano. There may be, several nano. Quantum dot tagging. This military uses it a lot, and they use it for prisoners as well when prisoners are released. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, I see. I can't see. I need you. I need you. I can't see what's up there. I wondered if it was confused.
We're talking about 5G, I believe South Korea is all 5G right now. It's a great test area for the
Where?
South Korea. 5G can handle 1 million signals in square kilometer. Where 4G can only handle about 4,000.
Right.
With 5G, the size of the array is much smaller than 4G. It's not able to penetrate surfaces as well as microwave, sub-millimeter and millimeter band. So it takes a lot more antennas to do the work.
Yeah, that's
And
the
less
story
trees.
we've been told now for 3 years, but it's not the story we need to hear. All that is true, other than the one that it can't penetrate matter. I'm really not sure that's true. But there's hopefully I'll get to it again, because there is something I want to read about it that concerns our bodies. I can see you're having challenges. Okay.
Anytime you're running a temperature and you don't have an element, if you're around a 5G array or 4G array.
That's radio frequency in
Yeah,
general.
it's simple.
Yeah, it's just that it's so powerful, right?
Trump's even pushing 6G. Does anyone even know what 6G means?
No, 6G is just more of the same. It's more of the same as take the attention off the 5G. But like I told you, the 4G already has the phased array antenna in it, so I personally don't see the big deal with the 5G now. It's already a done deal. And it's just in the cities where they're maybe sewing it up in some sort of, you know, anti-Faraday cage where you can see what it can really do when it's locked down, when it's in lockdown. That would be how I look at it.
Well, the push, the 5G deal is as far out in the country as you can get. I mean, isn't that?
Doesn't matter, satellites. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know anywhere to hide.
Well, there is.
I'm constantly asked that by people that write me. I don't know anywhere to hide.
How far does it penetrate Earth?
5G?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. What are you thinking of? You're thinking, are you safe underground? Well, I mean, some people are doing copper shielding and doing chicken wire shielding to, you know, and building underground. Some people are doing that. But it would be that would be the shielding, it would be the distance. See, that's again, we're back to that point he was making that it supposedly can't go through matter. But I don't think that's true. I think that's disinformation.
What about the Superman concept? Where, like with kryptonite?
Yeah, some people are doing
Well,
lead, but
who's
it's...
gonna build a lead house?
Exactly. So heavy. Right, right.
The guys
There it
are
is.
doing this time.
No, but you wouldn't have to do it heavy. You could suspend the pulverized metal in paint.
Okay, let's get back to this on this. No, there's no audio in this one. So, imagine having one of these in you. I particularly like the next part. And that would be a dendrite, an axon dendrite unit that it's adhering to. Now this is from the medical community. It's a delivery system. So when if you still go to doctors, when your doctor says, you know, that they're going to slip something into you to deliver a medicinal, you might think of this. Okay, dusty plasma. Dusty plasma is what the rockets distribute, is in space. Dusty plasma is very, very tiny electrons and ions of plasma. This also is being produced, you know, this is being made. It was natural and now it's being made. And then there's this.
But in the future, every square inch of every city will be alive with intelligence. Because every street and every building will have a network of microcomputers built right into them. Dr. Chris Pister calls it smart dust.
A smart dust particle or mote is a wireless sensor with sensing, computation, communication, and power in one package.
These all-in-one microcomputers will be small, very small.
The size of a mote today is about the size of a grain of rice. And we've shown that we can make the circuitry small enough and light enough that eventually it will be possible to make things that are on a sub-millimeter size scale.
Tiny specks of computer smart dust will form a vast invisible network that can help manage the infrastructure of even the largest city.
Smart cities in the future will take this low-power, inexpensive, small technology and basically distribute it everywhere.
These tiny computers record information about their surroundings, information they can send to other computers or to you. Smart dust on the tracks will monitor your commuter train so you know if it's running late. Potholes will be able to report themselves and warn your car, and you'll never have to wait for a radio traffic report again.
That makes me
They're
feel
monitoring the flow of
good.
traffic and giving you alerts about what route is the right way to go to keep the traffic moving
Bridges will get a coating of smart dust particles that can warn us when they detect stress fractures, helping avoid deadly collapses. But smart dust will also allow buildings and streets to recognize you and respond accordingly.
And increasingly, the environment will respond to who we are and adapt in consequence.
The city will know where you are if you want it to.
Your workplace.
Only if you want it to.
Smart dust at the entrance will boot up your computer. And smart dust embedded in the elevator doors will automatically ring your floor.
Oh, how
Smart
nice.
dust is going to sense data and allow us to improve the way we live our
It's for
lives.
anybody living in such a.
No matter how you live in the future city, it will be radically different.
Okay, here's the thing you didn't mention, that's the most important thing, is that we've all breathed these in. We all have smart dust in us. It's one big envelope of air, and we have breathed it in. So what are these tiny computers saying about our thoughts, our emotions, our bodies, to some remote laptop boy drinking an orange juice, sitting in Colorado Springs, happy with his great career? What is it saying to them about our inner world, about what's going on with us? So this is my concern, this guy, he keeps a straight face, but this is bad news. So integrated circuitry of microprocessors, he was talking about microprocessors, tiny computers. This is what one might look like on a nano scale. And we would breathe this in as well. This is carbon-60. I don't want to talk about carbon-60. You can see what Tony Pantalaresco thinks of it. He doesn't think a whole heck of a lot. He says that it's going to be used to access us. I don't know anything about it. But that's what he says. Then here's parallel nanowires. This sort of gets into the Morgellons aspect. A lot of nanowires in Morgellons. Fullerenes. These are the carbons. Like buckyballs. Lab on a chip. Again, tiny inside us. I have to assume we must be breathing all these in. This was made by Clifford Carnicom and Geoengineering, Bioengineering. That's why we chose the title for the talk today out of this. So geoengineering really is, it's about weather, it's about electromagnetics, chemical, sky, etc. But it's also leading to bioengineering. That's the important part. It has to do, it's not a sidebar, it is definitely front and center. And so this is what we need to be aware of. That it's just not in the dialogue, it's all about SRM, solar radiation management, reflecting back into space and then blah, 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 I'm so tired of it. It's just not what's going on. From molecular biology to digital bioengineering, that's what we're doing now. So that's kind of what I'm facing in this synthetic biology book, is talking about the old biology I studied, which is not happening anymore. It's all digital now. So what has happened is that genetics has become a branch of information technology. It is pure information. So it's separated from the living organism, but it's digital information. It's precisely the kind of information that can be translated digit for digit, byte for byte, into any other kind of information and translated back again. This is a major revolution. I suppose it's probably the major revolution in the whole history of the understanding of ourselves. And he's probably right, because what this does, you can imagine, to the digital biologist who's thinking about human beings and thinking about animals and thinking about trees and forests and everything living, to him it's just digital information. It's not about a living being. So it's another way of turning us to a cyborg self-conception. Cyborg self-conception.
Brainwashing.
Not thinking anymore of ourselves as divine. Well, forget that, and especially in America, the divine has been completely obliterated in America, purposely so, I would add. So next would be, you know, the preciousness of life, at least. That's going to, this is going to rub the rest of that out. So, so just to know, this is the direction it's all going in, and it's kind of a done deal. I don't know if you can even take molecular biology anymore in universities. I couldn't get it to behave itself, so I apologize, but at least you can look it up, and I can tell you the real name. Oh, no, I can't. It's gone. Okay. Organisms and living machines, products of synthetic biology at the borderline between living and, I guess, non-living. I don't remember. Yeah, non-living. So that's a paper. Then this one, remote-controlled nanoscale robots in a living host. That's what we have. We are the hosts of nanoscale robots, brain-machine interface, BMI it's called, right here. Nano-sized robots inside us. That's why we're part of the experiment, see what happens. They can hack into your hospital records, your clinic records, if you actually think you could go to a doctor and address your symptoms from something like this. They can, you know, it's a way of doing a massive experiment on humanity and veterinarians, animals. You know, those records can be hacked too. So that's important to know that's going on. Here are the environmental fibers that Clifford Carnicom was finding after jets were passing over northern New Mexico in 1998. He was collecting environmental fibers.
This is a big one.
Long fibers that some people thought were spider webs. They're not spider webs. If you ever see these, don't touch them. You need gloves to touch them if you're going to collect them for seeing what they are. Now we're in the Morgellons world. Morgellons is an unfortunate name for a condition that is far more than a skin condition. It is what we have breathed in because pathogens are part of what's being dumped on us to see what happens in the host. And as you know, some people end up with lesions. I personally know that we all have it in us because I've seen my blood and the blood of maybe 20 or so people years ago under a microscope at Clifford Carnicom's in New Mexico. We all have it in us. It eats iron, and there may be other pathogens that I don't know about because I don't keep up on it and I'm not living near Clifford anymore.
If we're all breathing it in, what seems to be making some people really erupt with the Morgellons horribly, debilitating,
Yeah.
and the rest don't seem to see symptoms yet?
Well, there's a few ways people look at it. Now, a lot of people see it that people like me, where I don't have the Morgellons symptoms, I am adjusting to its presence. People who get the lesions are not adjusting to its presence, are actually trying to throw it off. I am not a fan of that idea. My idea, because I know Chinese medicine, I studied it many years ago, for years, is that the skin and the liver are connected, and that the liver of the Morgellons sufferer is throwing off the worst to the skin to discharge and get it out. The liver is overwhelmed, that's how I would look at it. But you know, it's an ongoing discussion among all of us about why some do and some don't. A little anecdote to just give you an idea of something else about it is that when I was going to visit Clifford Carnicom 2 summers ago in Idaho to visit him and Carol and spend some time in his lab looking at some of the specimens people were sending him. He was completely overwhelmed by the number of specimens coming from all over the world. I got a case of a Morgellons outbreak on my calves of my legs. The left leg first, the right leg second. It wasn't the lesions like the really big staphylococcus-looking lesions with lots of multicolored fibers sticking out. It was simply a rash that when I would pick at one of them, out would come a crystal. I had tons of crystals coming out of my legs. And when I got to Clifford, I said, gosh, you know, this only arrived like a week and a half ago. I said, I don't know what to think about it. And so we scraped my legs and looked at it under a high-powered electron microscope and found some Morgellons fibers, but mainly found this inordinate number of crystals. They were amber-colored crystals, tiny, but not nano. I could see them. And then when I came back from Clifford's after spending a week in the lab looking at my leg stuff, within 3 weeks it was totally gone. Now, I maintain that the agents that watch me and Clifford and others like us gave me a case, remotely triggered a case in my legs as a sort of calling card to Clifford. That's what I maintain, because I have had nothing since. And my diet is the same as it was then. Everything was the same. So anyway, it's just an anecdote. Lots of anecdotes in this room where you don't necessarily draw conclusions right away. You wait and see. So there's Morgellons. Notice, and this next one, very important. Notice that one of the biggest discoveries Clifford Carnicom made back then was that inside the fiber, that's 5,000 power, inside the fiber are all kinds of organs, all kinds of things. And that's the amazing part, is that the Morgellons, as you learn in the last chapter of the first book, Morgellons actually has 5 parts to it, all genetically engineered. So it's quite a pathogen, and I'm sure they started with a bacteria, which is why Clifford eventually renamed it the cross-domain bacteria, because it has elements of all 3 kingdoms of nature in it. Now there's one of the filaments, one of the fibers in the skin. Notice how raw the skin is. Notice this, the golden head fiber. This was from Jan Smith. I assume she's not alive anymore, but she was one of the first Morgellons victims who literally was killed by it. This totally looks electronic, doesn't it? Looks like an electronic, and it's one thing about Morgellons. There are many things about it that are fascinating, but one of the things is it loves electromagnetism. So if you have Morgellons, if you are concerned you may have Morgellons, you may notice more activity beneath your skin when you're near wireless technology, or even your microwave, or hopefully you don't have a microwave, or your toaster oven. Here's another. Here, notice the network. This is from Harry Rhodes in England, from one of his members in his group. Notice how networky it looks, right? That's what Morgellons does. It creates the network fiber that I believe Elon Musk was referring to, the mesh, the neuron mesh. It creates its own in the body. It creates tremendous. For a while, one of my legs had a very strange skin cover, which was like a mesh. Here again, it's got a sort of circuit boardy look underneath the skin. This is sputum from an individual who has, quote, flu, unquote. And the sputum often has a wide array of fibers in it. But I don't know that any doctor or anyone in the medical profession would even recognize what it is. So. Now we get into the really strange stuff. Insect-like things. Again, note, remember when I said it's shape-shifting? All the nanoscale things can shape-shift. There's another one. And again, we're talking about programming here. We're not talking about, gee, I'm a nano, I think I'll shapeshift into an insect. No, we're talking about a human who has programmed the ability to shapeshift into a certain number of things.
So that is going from the inside out?
Yeah, those are coming out of the lesions. Oh, too fat? It looks like a too fat to me. Okay, that's all for the Morgellons. That's enough shock therapy on that one. Now, I just thought I'd throw some clouds in, but it's 2:20. I think we're done.